Good morning. This is Kavipriya, Assistant Professor, EC Department. Today I am going to deliver a topic Kingship. So king was the most important figure in the political body. So in Saptanga theory of state developed by Kautilya has described that king is the head or important organ of the state. So the operations or functions that is performed by the king was multidimensional. King functions involved not only protecting his kingdom against the external aggression but also the life, property, and traditional custom of his people against the internal foes. He protected the purity of the class and caste by ensuring that those who challenge the system are excommunicated and punished. He protected the family system by punishing adultery and ensuring the fair inheritance of the family property. He also has protected the widows and orphans by making them his wards. He protected the rich against the poor by suppressing the robbery, and he protected the poor against the rich by punishing the extortion and oppression. The religion was protected by the liberal grants given to the Brahmins and temples and frequently to orthodox sects also. The ideal set before the king was one of energetic beneficence. Ashoka was the only king who considered his people as his own children. The Arthasastra, despite its advocacy of every dishonest expedient for acquisition and maintenance of power, put forward the kingly duty in simple and forceful language, setting an ideal which few Asian civilizations can boast of. Comparing the king and the ascetic, it says, in the happiness of his subject lies the king's happiness, in the welfare of his subject his welfare. The king's good is not that which pleases him, but which pleases his subject. Elsewhere, the Arthasastra suggests a timetable for King's Day, which allow him only 4.5 hours sleep and 3 hours for eating and recreation, the rest of the day being spent in state affairs of one kind or other. No doubt such a program was rarely kept in practice, but it at least shows the ideal at which a king was expected to aim. In all sources, the king is told that he must be prompt in the administration of justice and always accessible to his people. The swarms of guards, ushers, and other officials who surround the king's person must often have demanded bribes and otherwise have obstructed the acts of subject to his sovereign. But best of Indian kings at all times have made the public audience or darbar an important instrument of government. The ideal before the king in ancient India was that of Chakravarti, meaning a king who ruled over the united vast territory of Indian subcontinent, extending him Kashmir to Kanyakumari. With the Mauryas, this possibility was sustainably realized and was incorporated into the Buddhist tradition and blended with later Vedic imperialistic ideals. Just as Buddha appears from time to time in cosmic cycle, heralded by auspicious omens and endowed with favorable signs to lead all the living beings along the road to enlightenment. The concept of universal emperor was also known to Jainans, and in epics numerous kings of legend such as Yudhishthira and Rama are said to have been Digvijayans or conquerors of all the four quadrants. According to Altakar, the position, powers, and privileges of king have varied from age to age. During the prehistoric period, king was the only senior most member in the Council of Peace. When he often owned his position to the election, either real or formal, when there was a popular council to actively supervise his administration, his position was often insecure and power was limited. After 5500 BC, the office of king was elevated to new heights. During this period, the king became the effective head of execution administration, and there was no popular assembly like Samiti to check him. He controlled both the treasury and military forces, though commander in chief and treasurer were under him. Ministers were selected by the king and held office at his pleasure. The king presided over the council of ministers, and his decision had to receive royal assent. So, to support the administration, the king selected the council of ministers. So, the main role of council of ministers is to advise the king. At the same time, king has to take the advice given by the council of ministers for the favor of its people. So that's all about the kingship, the role of king in ancient India. Thank you.